The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ground beef, I'm going to add it to my frying pan with that oil, and it's just going to sit in here until it's nice and brown. I don't like to put my beef into the crock pot raw. I mean, you can, because it's going to cook for anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, so obviously the ground beef will be cooked. I like to cook it though and add some browning to it. That's just a personal preference. You do you, it's your kitchen. Check below for the link to the original recipe. Feel free to pause the video right now and take a screenshot of the ingredients for this recipe. The original recipe came from the company's coming slow cooker recipe cookbook as shown on the screen. So now we need to chop up our onion. Now I have just a small one here. I would like to have used like a medium size. You want about a cup of chopped onion, but I'm just going to use what I have. This is the last onion I have in my house at the moment. So just get it all peeled up, and then I'm going to chop it into nice small pieces. I do have a chopper that I could use, but I figured, you know what, I already had the peppers all chopped up, ready to go in the freezer, and it's just this one small onion, so I thought, you know what, let's just use a knife and just chop it up. So again, I'm just going to chop it into nice small little pieces. And we will add these into our crock pot along with the other ingredients. And in my crock pot, I already have the equivalent of 1 pepper. So I buy peppers. I'll show you. I buy peppers and I chop them up and I throw them in the freezer. And it just makes it convenient when I want to go make a dish. So I have the equivalent of 1 pepper in here. The recipe does say to use 1 green pepper. But as you can see, I have a mixture of peppers. And I usually have onions in the freezer as well. And I had a few in here, which I'm just going to dump in here as well, because, you know, more onions are better. And I just put them in these silicone bags, and they hold up great. And it's so convenient to have chopped onions and chopped peppers in my freezer. So now I'm just going to continue to brown this hamburger until there's no pink left, and then we'll put this into the crock pot as well. This is a really easy, nutritious crock pot meal that you can start in the morning and just let go all day for, 7 to 8 hours on low, and when you need it for supper, you're ready to go. Oops, I just dropped some hamburger down the side. Dang it. So I'm just going to let this cook for maybe another minute or two. All right, our hamburger is all cooked. I'm going to take it over to the crock pot. Okay, I'm just going to dump that all right in here. When you brown it, you get those little dark brown bits in there, right? And that just adds more flavor. So these are the tomatoes I'm going to use. The recipe calls for 1 28-ounce can, which is a 796 milliliter. I don't have that, so I'm going to use these 2 cans. Now they are seasoned, and that's okay. And this one has green chilies. That'll just add more flavor. If you want, you can just use plain canned tomatoes with the juice. You want the liquid. So I'm just going to go ahead and open these up. All right, got these opened. I'm just going to dump them into the crock pot, juices and all. And yes, I will have a little bit more tomato than what the recipe called for. But again, to me, that's just going to add flavor. And at this point, I'm going to turn my crock pot onto low so it can start heating up. I'm going to let it cook for 7 to 8 hours, somewhere in there. Okay, so those are in there. Those over out of the way. We're also going to be adding in 1 cup of long grain rice. So I'm just going to dump that in there. I'm going to add some salt and some pepper and a little bit of chili powder. So the salt, we're going to add 1 teaspoon. Now, my tomatoes already have salt in them, so the recipe does call for 1.5 teaspoons, but I'm only going to do 1 because the tomatoes already have salt in them. The recipe does not call for pepper, however, we like pepper, so I'm going to add some pepper in there. And that to the side, and we're going to add 1 teaspoon of chili powder. Oh, it just doesn't fit. So we'll just go like this. Ooh, oh dear. See, and this is why you don't measure your spices. I'm just putting it back in, a bunch back in here because I had a whole bunch fall in. This is why you never, ever, ever measure your spices like that over top of your container, because you could end up with a whole bunch of spice that you don't want in there. Lesson learned. The other thing we need to do is add 1 cup of water. We'll mix this all up and set it to low and cook it for 7 to 8 hours. All right, it is supper time. So we'll shut this off. I've had it on keep warm for a little while here. Tell you what, it smells amazing. So, yes, I said it smells amazing. All right, everybody, it's time to taste it. It sure smells good. Let's take some here, and it's going to be very hot. Oh, that's very good. That is very good. It's very tasty. I think my only suggestion would be on this is especially if you're cooking the hamburger before you put it in the crock pot, maybe only do like the 4 hours, because I find that the rice is kind of, it's not mush, but it's getting there. So I think I'd cook it a little bit less time. I did cut it back to about 7 hours. I put it on keep warm, but I think maybe even 5 to 6 hours would be more than enough. But it is very good. It's very tasty. It's definitely got a lot of flavor, which is wonderful. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me today on Krista So Crafty. I really appreciate you joining me here today as we made this beef and rice crock pot casserole. I hope you give it a try. Happy crafting!